Hello and welcome to another Bible study with the Feed My Sheep Foundation video channel. Today we're continuing the Bible study in 2 Samuel and we're on chapter 15 with this video, and it begins by going forward. It says, "It came to pass after this that Absalom, who was the son of David, he prepared chariots and horses and 50 men to run before him. And Absalom rose up early and stood beside the way of the gate. And it was so that when any man that had a controversy, they came to the king for judgment. And then Absalom called unto him and said, Of what city are you from? And he said, Thy servant is of one of the tribes of Israel." Okay, so here Absalom, as we see going forward, he's putting himself in the place to give justice for any of the children of Israel that needed someone at that moment in time to judge their cause for whatever situation they had to bring before the king. So it says, "And Absalom said unto him, See, thy matters are good and right, but there's no man that is deputed of the king to hear you. For Absalom said, moreover, Oh, that I were made judge in the land." Okay, so here's Absalom saying, "Oh, that if I was made judge in the land, and that every man which had any suit or cause might come unto me, and then I would give him justice." And it was so that when any man came near to him to do him, to receive any type of justice, he put forth his hand and took him and kissed him. And on this same manner did Absalom to all of Israel that came to the king for judgment. So Absalom, he stole the hearts of the men of Israel, and he became the judge in the midst of all the children of Israel whenever they needed someone to judge their matter of concern, whatever they had, like a judge we have today in the earth. So it says, "And it came to pass after 40 years that Absalom said unto the king, I pray thee, let me go and pay my vow which I have vowed unto the Lord in Hebron." Okay, so for thy servant vowed a vow while I was abode in Gershu in Syria, saying that if the Lord shall bring me again indeed to Jerusalem, then I'll serve the Lord. Okay, so here he wants to go and make good on the vow that he vowed unto the Lord. And he said, "And the king said unto him, Go in peace." So he arose and he went to Hebron. And so, but Absalom sent spies throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, As soon as you hear the sound of the trumpet, then you shall say, Absalom reigns in Hebron. Okay, so here, Absalom, of course, going forward here, David's son, who was the one that killed Amnon because of the hideous act that he committed with his sister Tamar. And so now he's over in Hebron commanding the people to basically praise him, okay, because he's become judge and he's giving justice to the children of Israel. So now he's commanding them to praise. He says, "When you hear the sound of the trumpet, then all of you shall say, Absalom reigns in Hebron." And with Absalom went 200 men out of Jerusalem that were called, and they went in their simplicity, and they knew not anything. And then Absalom sent for Ahithophel. Now Ahithophel the Gileonite, who is David's counselor. Okay, David, of course, being his dad. So now here Absalom is sending for his dad's counselor. Now keep in mind, King David and Absalom are not really speaking to one another because of the death of Amnon. And David at one point wanted to kill his own son because he was so mad and angry at what he had done. But Absalom has gone on and with his journey, and this is where he's at right now, in Hebron, commanding to be judge, and they haven't placed him in the position to be judge over all the issues of the children of Israel in that particular region, and asking for praise from them. And now it says Absalom sent for Ahithophel. He was the Gileonite, and that's his dad's counselor, and they from his city, and so even from Gilo. So while he offered sacrifices, and the conspiracy was strong, for the people increased continually with Absalom. So now Absalom has his dad's counselor with him also. And it says, "And there came a messenger to David, saying, The hearts of the men of Israel are with Absalom." Okay, so now they've reported back everything to David, his dad, letting them know that Absalom has gotten the hearts of the children of Israel. They voted him to be judge, and they're praising him. And so now the message is sent to his dad, David, to let him know what he's doing. And so David said unto all the servants that were with him at Jerusalem, Arise, and let us flee, for we shall not escape from Absalom. Make speed to depart, unless he overtake us suddenly and bring evil upon us, and smite the city with the edge of the sword. Okay? So here David thinks that Absalom's going to come after him now that he's the judge of the city. And of course, because at one point in time David was after him because of what he did to his brother Amnon. And so they all get up and they arise to leave. And it says, And the king's servants said unto the king, Behold, thy servants are ready to do whatsoever my lord the king shall appoint. And the king went forth, and all his household after him, and the king left 10 women which were concubines to keep the house. Okay, so David leaves, and he leaves his 10 concubines that he has in the house. Keep in mind that he's doing that because that's going to be relevant for our next chapter reading. And he says that, And the king went forth, and all the people after him, and they tarried in a place that was far off. And all his servants passed on beside him, and all the Cherethites, and all the Pelethites, and all the Gittites, 600 men which came after him from Gath. They passed on before the king. And then said the king to Ittai, the Gittite, Where are you going? And also with us? Where are you going? Are you going with us? And he says, Return to thy place, and abide with the king, for you are a stranger and also in exile. Whereas thou came yesterday, should I this day make you go up and down with us, seeing I go where I may, and return wherever I want to return, and take back thy brother, and mercy and truth be with you as you go along your way. Okay, so that's what David says to the king of Ittai, the Gittite. And then so he says, and Ittai answered David and said, As the Lord lives, and as my lord the king lives, surely in what place my lord the king shall be, whether in death or life, even there also will thy servant be. So, here's dedication that the king Ittai has for David. And he's saying, wherever you're going to go, wherever you want to be, I'm going to be with you. I'm not going to go back. And so the king said unto Ittai, Go and pass over. And Ittai the Gittite passed over, and all his men and all the little ones that were with him. And all the country began to cry with a loud voice, and all the people, they crossed over. And the king also himself, they passed over the brook of Kidron, and all the people passed over toward the way of the wilderness. Okay, so they left from where Absalom was, thinking that he was going to come after them and cast judgment upon David, because David was after him, wanting to kill him because he had killed his brother Amnon. So verse 24 says, And Zodak also and all the Levites were with him, bearing the ark of the covenant of God. And they set down the ark of God, and Abiathar went up until all the people had done passing out of the city. So they've all left the city now. And it says, And the king said unto Zadok, Carry back the ark of God into the city. And if I shall find favor in the eyes of the Lord, he will bring me again and show me both it and its habitation. Okay. So David says, take the ark back to the city. And if God finds favor, if I find favor in the eyes of the Lord, he will bring me again and shall show me both it and his habitation. So, but if he does say, I have no delight in me, okay? David says this. Now, if the God says he has no delight in him, behold, here am I. Let him do to me as seems good unto me. Because, again, David knows of the different things that he's been doing. Then what has happened with his 2 sons. And so, he's thinking that God is going to punish him. There's a punishment coming from God. So he just says it right here. He said, "But if God have no delight in me, then here I am. What else can we do? So because again, David was after his son Absalom to kill him because Absalom tried to kill his son Amnon. Prior to that, David killed Uriah, and because he had gotten Uriah's wife pregnant Bathsheba, and there was a lot going on with him in his life that was a transgression unto the Lord. And so therefore David is just at the point where he's saying, well, if the Lord has delight in me, if he doesn't have delight in me, let him do whatever he's going to do. Here I am. I'm his for the taking, because where can I go? And so then he says in verse 27, the king said also unto Zadok the priest, art not thou a seer? Now that's what David says to Zadok. Return to the city in peace, and you and your 2 sons with you, Ahimaaz and Jonathan, the son of Abiathar. And he says, see, okay, I will tarry, I'll wait in the plain of the wilderness until there come word from you to to inform me of what's going on. Okay, so he sends this individual Zadok, who is a priest, and his 2 sons to go into the city and to basically secretly see what's going on and come back and tell David what's happening. So verse 29 says, Zadok therefore and Abiathar carried the ark of God again to Jerusalem, and they tarried there. And David went up by an ascent of Mount Olivet, and he wept as he went up, and had his head covered. And he went barefoot, and all the people that was with him covered every man his head, and they went up weeping as they went up. And one told David, saying, Ahithophel is among the conspirators with Absalom. Okay, and again, Ahithophel being the counselor of David. And he says, and David said, O Lord, I pray thee, turn the counsel of Ahithophel into foolishness. Now that is the prayer of David once he found out that here this individual, Ahithophel, was his counselor. Okay, would usually advise him, give him good advice on the Lord, which way to go, what to do, or nevertheless. But now he's in the mix of his son Absalom, because Absalom has called him to advise him. So David is petitioning God to make the counsel, the advice of Ahithophel to be foolishness. Okay. And it says, and it came to pass that when David was come to the top of the mount where he worshipped God, behold, Hushai the Archite came to meet him with his coat torn and dirt all upon his head. And unto whom David said, if thou passest on with me, then thou shalt be a burden unto me. But if thou return to the city and say unto Absalom, that I'll be thy servant, O king, as I have been thy father's servant before, so will I now also be your servant. And then mayest thou for me defeat the counsel of Ahithophel. Okay, so here's another strategy that David comes up with to stop the going forward, basically, of his son Absalom from destroying the city, and from the others taking his advice and going forward with it. Because here he's actually trying to play king. He's trying to take over David's position as king and judge at that moment in time. And so David comes up with all of these different strategies. First, he prays to the Lord to petition the counsel of his counselor Ahithophel to be foolish. He then also sends Zadok the priest into the mix of Absalom to see what is going on. And so now this third strategy he has here, he says, and thou hast, verse 35, and hast thou not there with thee Zadok and Abiathar the priest, therefore it shall be that what things soever thou shalt hear of the king's house, thou shalt tell it to Zadok and Abiathar the priest. Okay, and again, all a part of the strategy to find out what Absalom is doing and what's going on in his atmosphere and how he's dealing with the people. So so it says, behold, they have there with them their 2 sons, Ahimaaz and Zadok's son, and Jonathan and Abiathar's son. And by them you shall send unto me everything that you can hear. He says, come back and let me know everything that you've heard of what he's doing. So Hushai, David's friend, came into the city, and Absalom came into Jerusalem also. So, as Absalom is going forward, seeking recognition as a king and a judge in the mix of all that is taking place in Jerusalem, David is sending spies, different people from his camp, to find out exactly what he's doing and how he's trying to take over his position, basically. All right. So that is chapter 15 of 2 Samuel. God bless you. God be with you. And I'll see you on our next Bible study as we continue with the Feed My Sheep Foundation Bible Study video channel.